Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to a new stream, a new day, not necessarily a new build, because this is part 2. What is it part 2 of? Well, it's part 2 of the 1/32nd scale, there we go, the 1/32nd scale F-4J Phantom 2 by Tamiya. As you can see, I've got quite of a little bit of a mess here because I've been busy. Basically spray painting a whole bunch of parts. So that's basically what I've been doing. I did that all night last night and I've been working on it this morning. Basically just spray painting various parts of the engine and stuff like that. Getting pieces all ready to be assembled. I had to pick up a couple of cans of paint for this particular build. The AS20 Insignia White. There's a lot of pieces on it that are going to be spray painted in that color. And of course the AS16 Light Gray is the base color of this plane, which happens to be the color it's also molded in. So that's where we're at. So I just finished painting the inside of this. That can come off. There's our great big huge one-piece fuselage. Well, it's almost one piece, but it's huge. 1/32nd scale is not a size that I am accustomed to building, as you guys might know. But I'm doing this for one of my viewers. He wanted to build this particular plane and asked if I could, and I said sure, I'll check it out. And I checked it out and went and bought it, and here I am. Let's see, what else have I done? I've got the exhaust painted up, ready to be installed. We've got the engines here, those got to go together. That's about it. That's kind of where I'm at. I just finished putting some gunmetal on the rear ailerons, stabilizers, vertical control things, if that's what you want to call them. We will see. While this comes out, should be all right. Yep, looks good. One thing I have noticed, it's probably something I should probably do more often, is actually lay down a coat of primer or something like that, especially underneath the gunmetal color. It seems to really pick up the imperfections of the mold. I don't know if you can see that on the cameras. There, you can see that. I get it shining in certain spots. Like, you can see that's kind of a circle there, and that's just in the mold of the plastic. That before I sprayed it on here, I didn't even see it. It's strange, and it's taking on its own kind of a texture instead of being nice and smooth. But I can take my 10,000 grit sanding sponge and I can kind of polish it a little bit and get that better, smoother texture on there, and that'll be good. I mean, it's all going to be covered with a clear coat anyway, so it's not a huge deal. So yeah, so let's take a look. I want to put some of this together. I already took the liberty, I have to apologize now, I took the liberty of assembling these two intake pieces already. Painted the insides white before putting them together, and then just I put them together. Big deal, right? So yeah, so that's all I've assembled. I guess I put the two halves of this fin together too. So there you go. Let's see here. Move my little pieces of tape before they start sticking to my shirt. So I need to take this and put that in here. It only goes one way. There we go. So that needs to go on there. Now this kit, although it's big, it's not crazy super detailed like I thought it was going to be, which really surprised me. Looking at everything that's involved in assembling this kit, and how much detail there is, I think Tamiya probably put more effort in their F-14, their 1/48 scale F-14, either the A or the D. It's just my honest opinion, just from what I'm looking at. I mean, yeah, they've gone to the extent of giving me metal landing gear on this. That's cool. I imagine the model, especially once I get all the bombs and everything on this thing, this model is probably going to be fairly heavy. So that makes sense that they've put metal landing gear. I mean, even on Tamiya's 1/48 scale F-15, they give you these little metal rods that get sandwiched in between the pieces of the landing gear just to make it more firm and to handle the weight of the plane, and that's really fantastic. So it makes sense that they give me actual metal landing gear pieces, which I have now painted white. Of course, I did primer these with some Mr. Surfacer 1500 and then painted them with the flat white. So it makes sense that they give me metal pieces, because this thing's probably going to weigh quite a bit when it's all finished. But one detail that Tamiya left out with this kit, of course, which really surprised me when I was thinking about it, with their F-14, they give you a little sheet of masking pre-cut pieces. Oh, no, are they pre-cut? No. They just give you a sheet of masking tape that has the drawings on it to cut out to place on the canopy. So you've got nice, perfectly cut pieces of masking tape to mask off the canopy before you paint it. But yet this kit they don't, and this kit is a bigger kit and supposedly more detail because it's bigger, and it's also more expensive. So why didn't they include that? Why didn't they include that in the kit? You know, it just, is it because they give you metal pieces and that costs more, so they did that as their extra expense? I don't know. It's weird to me. So anyway, with those assembled, they want me to now put them into the fuselage. So they're obviously only going to go one way. So let's see which way they go here. Because this goes like that. Now how far in does it go? It looks like it's lining up. Goes right up like that, maybe? That's interesting. So these two pieces are actually going to go together like this somehow. Maybe like this. And then they want me to put a screw in there. Question though is, how is it lining up? I guess it lines up like this. Now clearly I didn't do any test fitting before actually doing this. So I can only assume one is going to go on top of the other. It's just a matter of which one is which one. I think it's like that. So that seems to fit okay like that. if I do it the other way, put the other one on top, does it still line up? Doesn't seem to line up nearly as good. So this one goes down first. I'm just going to take a look here. They actually look like they're identical. Okay. So how does that work? They're identical, but yet they purposely, one's not going to fit as good as the other because they're both they've got this little square marking here. I don't know if I can see it right by my finger there. There's one there and one down here, right? And that's where this little block is supposed to line up to, but it doesn't. It doesn't line up. There's also a little circle here where a circular peg is supposed to go on, and I cannot see if it's actually going in there or not. But the square one doesn't line up at all. And with that sitting like that, there's actually a gap. There's a gap in here. So that tells me that this other side is actually supposed to go on first, since nothing's really lining up with that one. So let's take a look at this one. We still don't have any alignment with that little square peg at all. The front seems to be lining up. I don't know, am I making this more difficult than it needs to be? I really don't know. In any case, that's how it's going to go. So I don't know if I should put some glue down first or if I just screw it down first. Let me see, I'm going to try and read these instructions here. Let's see. When no color specified, paint the item with the fuselage color. Yeah, thanks a lot. Make a 2mm hole on both sides. What's that? That's got nothing to do with anything. They just want me to use a 2x6mm screw. And other than that, there's no instruction. Okay. Where's my little screw bag? Seems to be a lot of screws that are similar size. Put all my stuff over here. Now let's take a look here. Two by 6 millimeters. That's a 6mm screw right there. That's a tiny, tiny little one. That's like 8mm. And that's like 4mm. Okay. So So there we go. Now I know my screw sizes. Let's get them back in the bag. Actually, what I'm going to do, this is going to be easier. I'm going to use this. That is a much better idea. There we go. All the screws are now in my little Ziploc container. Okay, so I'm going to take, I'm not going to use the screwdriver that came with the kit because that's just a tiny little toy. Let's get this started here. This one's also magnetized, so it helps out when you're having problems. A few threads started on that. Now they want me to drill out holes here and here so that I can put screws through. I don't know why they didn't bother putting the holes there already. So I gotta grab my pin vise. That was easy. I almost got myself there. Okay, so I got holes there. So now what I'll do is I'll just open up the holes with my knife to make them as big as necessary. That looks pretty good. Sure, that'll fit a screw through it now. Works for me. There we go. So those are done. This one just a little bit bigger to match. There we go. Okay, so holes are in there now. Doink and doink. Done. Now, let's take a look at getting this put in. Get this put in. Just like this. So slide that into there and line it up. There we go. Okay. Then this side goes into there. Let's get it the right way around. That slot, and it's going like that. Now I'll just tighten the screw down on it. About right now, they're not going anywhere. So there's a screw in the middle between them. It's going in this camera. A little bit better camera. Or should I say a lot of it better. So now I just need to put some glue on there and hold it, and then that'll be it. sure it lines up good, because this doesn't seem to be. Gonna have to give a little bit of pressure, I think, just to keep it lined up while the glue is setting. I always have the argument, like, are you ever going to see this part, you know? How important is it that it's all perfect? How much glue can you dab on there and make a big mess? Is that important, right? Because when it comes to these intakes on these planes, you don't really get, once it's all assembled and everything, you really don't get to see down inside very well. There's never enough light. An argument could be made, do you even need to put the fans, you know, the intake fans in there, because it's always so dark? It's basically, you're looking into blackness. So whether the fan's there or not, you can't really tell. Unless you actually take a flashlight and flash it in there, you're not going to see anything. So that's kind of one reason why I kind of do some things just kind of, yep, good enough. That's all you need. Just put a little extra on there just because I want it to stay. Kind of reduce the amount of creaking that might take place from it not being an exact fit. And even with the screw holding them down, they don't really line up with those little square outlines at all. And I mean, that's fine. It doesn't have to. It just would be nice if it did. Being very liberal with the glue on this just because I want it to stay, and I want it to stay permanent. One of the worst things I've had for, I don't know, it's more of a pet peeve. You get it all together, and then as you're manipulating it and stuff like that and working with it, something inside comes loose. And that now you can't access it, and it's just like, oh, what do you do now? The only thing you can do is just leave it, and now you've got something that rattles inside every time you pick it up or move it or something like that. Okay, so that's that with those. Now I could glue the two back here together too, so that they're glued and screwed. Why not, right? There we go. Glued and screwed. So that's it. The intakes are in, or at least part of the intakes. There's quite a few pieces to the intake on this thing. What have we got next? We have these little fin things. Where did I put them? There they are. These guys. So these guys, I had to paint this back part white. This is more of the inside, and this sticks out the front on the sides, kind of like this kind of thing. So we put those together, and then we've got a panel J14 that they want to put on the top. That's going to go right here. It always makes me wonder sometimes why they decide, let's make that removable, or let's make that piece separate. What was the reasoning behind that decision? Always intrigues me. I need my J tree. Here we go. And that was J14. And that would be that piece right there. sometimes I'm kind of make the decision, hey, this would be cool to leave this piece like it's been opened and they've left it open while they're doing maintenance on the plane or whatever. And I'll decide, hey, I think I'm just going to glue that so that it's open. Usually that involves some kind of detail that they've put in down underneath here. But this is just nothing. It's blank nothingness. Looks like I'm supposed to have it oriented this way, and it's just going to go in like that. Yippee. It sits down a little bit lower than the rest, which kind of is weird. I don't like that. Come on. I want you to come off. Fine. That's how you fix that. So what I want to do, I'm going to use my thicker glue. Around the edge of it. I am actually going to try. I'm going to try this. Because it sits higher, I want to try and just kind of hold it there like that. Kind of thing. If I can do this and then just kind of set it so it kind of sits flush but doesn't sit low, then I'd be happy with that. Okay, let's throw some glue on it. Okay, I'll let that sit for a minute. Let that glue dry a little bit. Try not to touch it while I'm working with other parts here. So they want, this is going to go, this hole lines up with that peg, and it just sits like that. Doesn't really line up with anything. When I was testing the fit on a couple of parts earlier, like this, so this had to paint the inside of this white and add this little piece in there, and I discovered that these line up like that perfectly. So I'm going to glue this in that like that and then put this on as one piece. I think that is going to be the way to go. In the meantime, I'll let that piece on top dry. You know, I'm still of the opinion that the Tamiya kits, their fit and finish is very well done. My opinion on that has not changed at all, in spite of the fact that it seems they did a little more time on the engineering of the F-14 model than they did on this F-4. I can't really knock this kit. I've got no complaints so far. just kind of is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, so those are on. Now, there's another piece here. It's going to go in this slot here. J25 and then J12 goes on top. So let's have a look at those. Back to the J tree. Which one was it? There it is. 25 is this piece. And then J12. Did I say 12? Yes, 12. 12 right there. There. Okay. I can put this away, I think. This is the air refuel nozzle port, I guess they call it. I don't know if they call it a port or not, but this is where that nozzle is stowed when not in use. Trimmed this a little too close off the tree and got a little marks in it. So this is going to go like so. Where's that backwards? There we go. It sits pretty good, although not perfect. To sit just like that. So I have decided that I am going to be painting this whole thing with the light gray. If for no other reason, to act as a base coat or a primer, I guess. And they want me to paint the inside of this white, but why do I need to paint it if I'm just about to cover it up? You know what I mean? Why paint it if I'm just covering it up? It's unfortunate that doesn't actually fit properly. It doesn't fit as flush as I would have expected it. And of course, if I sand it, it's going to take away the rivet detail that's on there. That's okay. Alright, so that's in. Let's have a look at our little panel on top here. This should be set enough. I can remove it. And that was a good idea because that sits much flusher. Flusher? More flush than it did when I was test fitting it. Just to add a little more glue here. There we go. That sits much nicer. although it's not perfectly centered, so I've got a bit of a gap on one side compared to the other. I'll show you on this camera, I can probably see there's a bit of a gap here on this side. Come on, focus. Focus. Stupid camera, come on. There. Now you can see that gap, right there. And it's not existent on that side. So I might take a little bit of putty and just kind of put it in there and then scribe it a little bit. Oh wait, I might just get away with just putting a little bit more glue in there. Once this glue is cured fully, I can just add a little bit more glue and just kind of hide that. We'll see. Okay, so I believe this is going to go on this side. Is there anything I need to add in there? No. And there we go, just like that. And it fits pretty good. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on these, on this part here and there, and maybe on a couple of these, just to give it a little something to glue on the front edge of it, rather than only gluing it here and here. And for that, I will do the thicker glue, just to add a little bit of something. And then this glue, I will glue the back part. Goes together pretty well. It's a pretty tight seam. Could it be better? Yeah, maybe. Could it be worse? Yeah, it could be Refuel. Yeah, I've got a little bit of disliking of Refuel kits and their fitment and stuff. Funny enough, somebody had mentioned when I did my comparison of the two F-14 kits, somebody commented that you know, the Refuel kit is 40 years old. Well, actually, on the underside of the rear tail fin, the elevator, is actually, Refuel has stamped the year that they manufactured it in. It's something like 1995, something like that, 95 or 96. Now, that's not 40 years ago. That's, you know, sure, it's like 25 years ago, but back in the mid-90s, they knew better. In fact, this one is stamped. I actually took a Jiffy marker and highlighted it, and that year that this one is 1995. 1995, Tamiya made this kit, and look at the fitment. Look at how that fits there. That is a near flawless fit of those two pieces. Near flawless. So yeah, so there's that. Now, of course, let's try this side. And this side's about the same. A little bit of a gap up here, just a tiny little 0.5 millimeter, which with a little pressure I can pretty much eliminate it. So I'm going to do the same on this side. Just add a little bit of glue on these points. Ooh, that was a lot. Don't quite need that much, but whatever. There's a little bit bigger of gap up top on this side. Again, a tiny little bit of putty. Let's see if I can get you this camera to focus here. You can see it, even though in the blur, you can see that gap there. It's not on the side, it's just on the top. Oh, from there to there. I'll show you on this camera, you can see it there. Right? Where are we here? A little bit of a gap there, a little bit of putty, fixed. No problem at all. In similar fashion to this panel up here, you can either just add glue, let the glue set, add more, let it thicken, add more, that kind of thing. I could do the same thing here. Putty is just a little bit faster of a fix than trying to build up glue. But yeah, so there we go. So those are on. Now there's a couple little pieces, J10 and 11. J10 and 11. That's these two. They go on the outside here. And there's no open holes from inside. Oh, thank you very much. Now you see, now there's a lesson right there. Read your instructions. Okay? So inside here are a couple of little divots that I'm supposed to drill holes for, so that I can put these two pieces onto the outside in exactly the right spot. They have a couple of little pegs on them. So, but guess what? I didn't read my instructions, and therefore I missed that step. So what's the solution? The solution is to take the little pegs off with the knife and then just glue them on. Am I going to have them in the exact right spot? No. Am I going to get close? Probably. Probably. But they do also want me to paint the tips of these black. I don't even know what the heck these are for. I mean, it looks fine without them. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. The engine. We're going to let that sit, and we're going to move on to the engines. Again, I've already pre-painted these gunmetal on the inside, and so these need to go together. Not that way. That way. Just like so. So let's, I don't need my fancy glue. This is where I get to just throw the glue on there and be happy about it. Yeah, and then we put our exhaust fans in, and they're going to go on which end? That end. Why don't you want to hold together? It doesn't want to hold together, so I'm going to tape you, and then I'm going to tape you. There we go. That's these guys, and they get little covers put over them. Just like so. Okay. I don't like to put a ton of glue on things like this, but I do like to make sure I've got glue on, you know, say the top side and the bottom side, so it's 2 points being glued together rather than just one spot, whenever I can anyway. It almost holds together just by friction is good enough. Anybody who's built any amount of models knows you can't just rely on friction alone to keep parts together when they're not really designed to be like that. So do we have tops and bottoms? It doesn't look like it. It's just a little slot that they go into. Okay, so let's use the thick glue on these. Add a little more. Just because I didn't like, these two halves didn't want to stay together, so I'm using this end piece kind of to anchor them, so that when I remove the tape, it's going to be glued good. Probably a little bit of overkill, but that's okay. There we go. So now you can look inside there and you can see the engines, just like that. Or if you're looking on this camera, just like that. Was focused. There we go. Yeah. Okay. We have a couple of pieces that they want me to do. B. I need B tree. B. What's this one? These need to be painted. B 28 and 29. I think that's these. Yes. These guys. These need to go on the rear elevators, and therefore they need to be painted gunmetal. Well, actually the color I've chosen for that is light gunmetal, this. I've got light gunmetal and regular gunmetal. And the regular obviously is a darker color. The darker color I've reserved for the actual jet nozzles, and then all the metal shielding that they obviously needed to utilize, putting the engines underneath the back of the plane like that. That's all light gunmetal, and then I've tarnished it all up, which is this piece here. That's basically the underneath, and then you got the nozzles basically going to sit like about there, right, kind of thing. So I've did a whole bunch of, I painted this with the light gunmetal, and then I did a whole bunch of, I used this exhaust wash, smeared it all around on there and made it all look nice and dirty and ugly looking. Because, well, that's what happens. Anyway, so we got to take this, and these have to be going in this little spot like this, I guess. I could have gotten away with just putting them on there first and then painting the whole thing as one. It looks like the wider end goes forward. I just want to make sure it actually is sitting there correctly. Okay. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, where was I here? Determining if I've got these oriented right. Let's try putting it with the big end towards the back. Clearly not going to work. And they seem to be two different sides. Oh, yeah, definite lefts and rights. But I need to paint these first. So, I'm not gluing them right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end it here. Yeah, I'll get these painted and I'll get them put on there. All they do is just sit one on one side and one on the other, just like that. But they got to be painted the gunmetal color to match, right? So I'll get those painted, I'll put those on, and then we're going to continue. I'm going to throw in a little bit of putty in that gap there and in that gap there, and let that sit and dry. And then, yeah, engines are done. What's going to be next time? With that all done, they want me to put the engines in and then start working on the cockpit. So that's what's going to be next time. Putting the engines in and working on the cockpit. So yeah, we're going to leave it like that for now. Call it a day. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys who subscribe to my YouTube. And even the guys who follow me on my Twitch channel. Duplicitous_29. I say this in every video. If you go on my Twitch, you can follow me on there and you'll get notified when I'm live. And yeah, you get notified when I'm live, and you have the opportunity to talk to me while I'm actually doing my stuff, if that's something you're interested in. And if you're not, then oh well, then don't do it. Plain and simple. But it doesn't really cost you anything. It's not that big of a deal. So why not? And if you're watching on YouTube, and you've made it this far, why not hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on YouTube, and you get notified whenever I get to put a new video up. And comment if you want to see still pictures of my stuff. I post those, all my completed models, on my Instagram, and as usual I'll put links in the little description box below there. And yeah, so I'm going to end it here. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for coming out. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. It's really, really cool. And yeah, so I will work on that stuff, and we will see you in the next one.